Hi, boys and girls and families. So, I am going to review a strategy to help you during your reading today. So, what you're going to do is we're going to focus on a strategy goal today, not a whole new lesson. We're going to combine some things we did yesterday. Okay, so we're going to set a timed stamina goal. We don't want to forget these things that we focus on in our reading behaviors of being a fantastic reader. Okay, because one thing fantastic readers do, one reading behavior, is readers set goals. Okay, so today I'm going to teach you a strategy that you can use to help monitor your pace while reading, as well as work on building your stamina. Which means, remember, we want to work on here at the beginning of the school year to increase the amount of time you are reading at one moment in one length of time. Or we want to increase the number of pages you are reading in one set amount of time. So I'm asking you to monitor your stamina and pace by setting a timed stamina goal. So a review from our lesson yesterday was we think about some of these things. We ask ourselves and we pay attention to, what do we notice about our pace? Are we going too fast, too slow, or are we figuring out that right pace for us? How often are you stopping to check in with your comprehension? Are you reading just at a pace, or are you reading and thinking and making sure you understand what you're reading? What goal will you make for yourself? What goal will you make about your pacing? And what goal will you make about any distractions? So, how do we do this? How do we set a timed goal? Well, today you will be able to pick one. I'm going to explain the four. Okay, so what readers do is we set goals. And so one way of doing that is we set a timed goal. So after I'm done explaining, I'm going to model, and then I'd like you to try one of these during them. And then at the end, when you get the slideshow yourself, you'll circle the one you did try during your reading. So one idea is you can set a time goal. Okay, so at home and in the classroom, we're going to set a goal for 20 minutes. So the goal is 20. We don't want to, be at any point less than that right now. And we can use a timer to help us to set that. Okay, so this one shouldn't be the one you're necessarily choosing, because as teachers, we're kind of choosing this for you. Okay, so to build up to 20 minutes, you could focus on setting a page goal. So, for example, in this 20 minutes, your goal might be 26 pages. Okay, or to get through your 20 minutes of self-reading time, you could choose different kinds of books, meaning you could have a graphic novel, a chapter book, and an informational book, or just one of those, or a combination. But since the goal is different kinds of books, maybe you'll read from a magazine and a little bit from your chapter book. Okay, so maybe a combined kind of book could help you meet your stamina of 20 minutes. A third strategy, or a third strategy, is actually focusing and using reading strategies that help us think about what we're reading while we're reading. And I gave you an example of 3. So while you're reading, you could make a connection, you could make a prediction, or you could be tracking those things that you're really learning as you move along. So you want to use these reading strategies while you're reading to build up your stamina. Okay? And so at the end of reading today, we want to know, what is it that you did read within your 20 minutes today? And really try to pay attention. Where did you start and where did you end? And then lastly, after reading today, you'll kind of reflect on, What was your stamina like today? Okay, you will be drawing and marking these off, but then tell us what part of your goal today was easy, and then what's one thing you know you need to continue to work on tomorrow. Okay, hi boys and girls. Here is I'm going to model setting a timed goal. Okay, so we see the 4 options, okay? But the I'm going to explain the time one, but you'll kind of see also why 20 minutes is going to be kind of teacher driven at this point, okay? But first I'm going to show you myself as a reader at home. I am reading written by Lucy Foley, The Guest List, okay? And so one of the 2 best that I use while I'm reading is I set a page or a chapter goal every day, okay? Because I know that with it being a chapter book and being that we're in school and we have a lot to do, for me to get through this, I have to set a goal. Okay. And also, while I read, I'm a really big reader who likes to focus on strategies. So, in this case, this is more of a mystery or suspense. So, I like to have that kind of reaction to really be engaged with action and suspense. So, I'm always thinking about my strategies while I'm reading this. Okay. But I'm also, every night, I have a goal of 3 chapters. Okay. And if I do more, that's great. But my number one goal is I don't necessarily focus on the pages because my chapters vary. Like the number of pages vary so much. Okay. So what works for me is I focus on chapters. Okay. Another one, I'll give you an example, is I use Audible. Okay. So I read the book I showed you at home at night, but I also love to listen and read the books that you guys enjoy. Okay, so one of my favorite Audible book series is Snazzy Cat Capers. Okay, and so in order to get through my books on Audible, I also have to set a timed goal. Okay, so I use a time goal. I typically, my ride to and from work is about 20 minutes. So I always choose one. So my goal every day in Audible is minimum of 20 minutes. So I focus on a time, and within that time, it kind of depends on how many chapters that I will get through. Okay, so that's another way you can use a timed goal, not necessarily having to focus on just the chapters and pages. Okay, a couple other examples. Okay, so let's take another strategy goal. Okay, so let's take the book I Survived. Okay, and when I look at I Survived and I think about the book itself, I see that it focuses on the words in terms of, I mean, all books do focus on words, but I mean, it's written more of a chapter book. Okay, so there's more words per page. Okay, so as I'm thinking about this, and I also think about I Survived, I know within those books we're supposed to learn a lot, right? Okay, so I think one of the best choices on this, knowing that we'll be reading for 20 minutes, and I don't necessarily focus on pages, I'm going to focus on a strategy, because I notice one of the things I could be thinking about as a reader are the things that I learn. And in an I Survived book, there's a lot of historical in it. So things that have really happened. Okay, so it isn't based on a true story, but it is based on true events. Okay, so I would love to track the real stuff that have actually happened. So I'd use a strategy goal on I Survived. Okay, so another is, what about kinds of books? How could you mix that into your reading? Well, let's take, for example, Guinness World Book of Records. Okay, what's really important to notice about this is when you open it up, there's always a lot more words. So the nonfiction books like this, we shouldn't be just reading for the pictures. We want to read everything. That includes the captions and the extra facts. So look how many words, a lot of small words on each page. So this would be a great book that I'm not going to just sit down and read in one sitting necessarily, because there's a lot of words, a lot of information in this book. So I would like to mix the kinds of books with Dogman, okay? Because these two together would be two great books that I could set a time goal with during my 20 minutes. I would read maybe 10 minutes from here and 10 minutes from here. Or I could choose a chapter goal, because Dave Pilkey does divide his books up into chapters. So I could combine two of them. I'm going to read two different kinds of books during my time. And then I'm going to set a goal and a plan. Remember, we wrote out an action plan as a reader. So before I even start picking these up, I'm going to think about what is my action plan during my 20 minutes of reading. So I would probably decide my chapter goal would be 3 to 4 chapters. And then I would start also, probably would be better than the strategy goal here, would be a page goal. So I'm going to start with 10 pages since there's a lot of information. So my plan, my action plan for my 20 minutes is to read two kinds of books. One, I'm deciding I better do page goal because there's a lot of information. I'm going to combine that with some chapters. Okay, so that's kind of how you're going to use this as a reader. I'll show you one more example and then you can do it yourself. Okay, so here would be possibly another example of a page goal, because Agent Moose is written like a graphic novel. And I did grab a couple graphic novels like Dave Pilkey, Dogman, but in these others, because it's really important to note that just because there's less words on a page doesn't mean that it's easier. It doesn't mean you should read super fast either. Because while you're reading, we're always thinking, and we have to make sure we're understanding what's happening as we go from speech bubble to speech bubble, or from page to page that's making sense. Okay, so these are definitely great books to think about monitoring your pacing, because often we tend to speed race through graphic novels, and we definitely don't want to do that. We still want to monitor our understanding. Okay, so a great one on this would be a page goal. Okay, so maybe you're going to read 10 pages, stop, think, and do a check in your brain. Is this book making sense? And if so, then make another goal of 10 pages. So you do 10 pages plus a break. So you're going to go, you're going to stretch, and then make sure you're thinking about making sense. And then you're going to write 10 more pages and break. So notice on every single book I've used a Post-it. And I've written my goal and what my action plan is going to be. So when you're doing this today, you want to make sure you have a Post-it. But your first decision is which one of these is going to work best. It's okay if you use two of them. I showed you on some of mine that I do use two. But on your Post-it, don't just write page goal. Write your action plan of what you're going to do during that 20 minutes. Okay? And the last one I wanted to show, why is Sunny Side Up a page goal? Because when I showed you Dogman is divided up into chapters. So you could have a goal that goes from this page to this page, because he sets his book up that way for you. But with this author, with Jennifer Holmes' graphic novel, and it is titled Sunny Side Up, when I open this up, it is like page after page after page after page after page. And then it keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. There's chapter 2. And it keeps going, and it keeps going. And it kind of, she does have chapters, but it's not divided up as clearly. Okay, so I might on this one do a page goal, maybe combined with a chapter goal, if I find that that's easier. Okay, so today, boys and girls, you are going to, one, decide on what is your workshop book. What book are you going to work on as a reader? Okay, which book are you going to read during your independent self time? So your self-reading time. And then decide on what goal are you going to use during your reading time today. Once you have decided, we want to see that action plan on your book today. Okay? Good luck and happy reading.